Hi, everyone, and welcome to AB Conversations, where we will help you CFP your way out of it. A podcast where you get into the minds of a couple certified financial planners on how we think and feel about everyday financial planning questions and what should really matter most to you. A healthier financial life starts now. Hey, Adam, how's it feel to be a champion?
I didn't win anything. Yeah, but yeah, that was fun to watch. I mean, of all of their games this season, that just felt like, nail biters throughout the season. To just have the Super Bowl kind of just feel like they were in control from the jump was somewhat anticlimactic, but very satisfying.
Yeah, and having younger sons that have not gone through the pain and
Ooh.
anguish of long, hard losing seasons. It's like they just got to celebrate and celebrate. Like I don't think
Yeah.
they had the depth of joy that I have knowing what depth of pain is.
Yeah. So to that end, even when the score was, whatever it was, 27 or 25, whatever it was to 0 going into the second half, it's like, okay, but the Chiefs
They,
score
yeah.
before halftime, they're getting the ball, they can score again. This game could be,
Yeah.
very close, very quickly. Like just being a Philly sports fan, I always have that pessimistic view on how things could go. So yes, it was nice to not have those negative things come to fruition.
So I'll do my best here because we should, actually do the
Yeah,
podcast and
talk
not just
about the
talk about the
podcast.
Eagles. I'll let you kind of lay out a situation where we may feel like we're winning. We feel like winners,
Yeah.
and we got to allocate some of that. So
Yeah, we've been asked the question, or we've just been presented this situation a handful of times in the not too distant past. But it's just around, I got a large bonus, or I got promoted at work and now, my salary increased, or I changed jobs to now something that is going to pay me more. And then the question is, what do I do with now, hopefully, what does feel like now excess income than what I've been used to?
yeah.
How do I handle this?
Yeah, right. Huge opportunity for people to, I would say, talk with their planner. Hopefully, they have one, right? They have a plan, and we can talk about the difference if you have a plan or don't have a plan and how people go about it. But yeah, more important than this beginning of the year, hey, how's the market doing? What do you
Yeah,
see the market doing this year? Am I making money? If you're in this accumulation phase of life, your income, right, your future earnings, it's like your greatest asset, sometimes
yeah,
far more than what you've already set aside. So, you earning more, having some windfall in that way, this is a really big opportunity to think about, all right, how am I allocating this? How is this money going to serve either present me or future me?
yeah, yeah. So I'll start with that differentiation. If we would hope if somebody's already working with a planner, and part of our job of working with, we'll say those accumulator phase people, that is, I got this income coming in. Where am I saving? Right? Building that hierarchy of, I'm going to put this much in my retirement plan, then I'm going to put
Right.
HSA and save all of the things. Hopefully, there is that hierarchy. And if there's an influx, in theory, it may be as simple as, great, now I have this excess. Just go down the list and start to fill each respective bucket in order. In reality, it's probably not that simple
Right.
because we may not want to just fill all of bucket A. We may want to spread this out, or the very human side of, but I don't want this bonus to, or whatever it is, right? This increase to just be for the future. You need to kind of weigh that against, I want to be able to realize some of this in the short term for some fun stuff.
Yeah, I think we certainly find that the drafting of the plan is not always the hard part, right? Thinking through what are my priorities and how should I handle this? What's the pecking order
Mhm.
to that? Oftentimes the hard part is actually executing on that. And if you've got a life event here or a life situation that kind of forces you to go back and look at the plan, it also then forces you to reflect on, well, now that this is right in front of me, now that it's truly decision time, I'm not just like projecting out, is that really what I want? Is that really what I want to do? And I think that's the value of having a thought partner. Use a financial planner in that way to say, all right, in a vacuum, here's what I'll do. But when it's
Mhm.
time, push comes to shove, like, help me rethink through this. What is best for me now versus later? And how do I balance those things?
Yeah, it's not only that, but just depending how long ago you may have kind of built that plan or built that hierarchy, if it's been a couple of years, your outlook may have changed. Your life situation may have changed a little bit. That could influence really now that maybe this excess is truly real. And now I need to actually do something with it and not just in the theoretical. Well, if this came to pass, here's what I would do. Your values, I don't want to say your values may have shifted, but maybe just your outlook on what you
Yeah.
prioritize the most at different times is going to change and shift over time too.
I know you're going through it. Year of saving. Good for you. You know, we're having these reflections in my house too. Like it just seems like the boys are growing up so fast that now where we were prioritizing maybe longer term savings, now we're
Hmm.
actually starting to have these conversations on, well, are there things we want to do around the house that are going to, we think, enhance, right? Our values aren't shifting. It's still about our,
Yeah, yeah,
but how we go about it might shift. So
yeah,
I really love this topic as an opportunity to just highlight the importance of having a plan, highlights the importance of having a planner, and remind people that when you go through these changes in life, it may not have to do with investments. It may not feel like, well, I need to call my financial planner for this. I encourage you to do that, right?
yeah.
Because we are trained and we have now these conversations. You brought it up at the beginning here more frequently where we got to help people talk through it, think through it, go through those exercises, and we know that that can be valuable for them.
And this is where, just planning in general cannot be one size fits all, right? Because everybody's situation is going to be different. So something as simple as, great, I received this bonus or I got this promotion, now I have this excess, and you start to go down the list of, okay, where should we start to apply this? We would, in many situations, if somebody has what we would call quote unquote bad debt, right? If there is just consumer debt, not your house, not your car that we're hoping are at, maybe lower interest rates, but credit card debt or loans,
Yep.
personal loans, things like that, very easy to just knock those off the list if you can to a certain degree, right? And then you start to get into the where should, if there is still now excess, where can this be leveraged for the future in a way that really does serve me and my plan?
Yeah, is it to work less later? Is it to, develop a new goal, fund things for the kids? Is it I'm going to increase, my giving elsewhere? That's where
Yeah.
individual really is going to play a role. I
Yep.
To get a little bit more into the weeds, like put our financial planner hats on here. I think more often than not, once we kind of look back on that plan and we go through the pecking order, if somebody does go through a meaningful windfall or an increase in income, the first thing
Hmm.
we're going to talk about is taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to that end,
Does this
yeah,
create an increase in tax liability? Does it push you into a new tax bracket?
yeah.
There are some of the logistical things that I think would come out of those conversations.
Well, and so to take that one step further, it's the domino effect of that as well. Because as we know, especially in planning, nothing happens in a vacuum. So yes, if now there is this windfall, whatever that may look like, and now that does push you into a potentially a new tax bracket, what other domino effects does that have? If you've been contributing to a Roth IRA, does that now put your income over the limit where now that takes that out of the equation? And now we have to go back to the drawing board to say, well, we were saving X amount into the Roth IRAs, but we're no longer eligible. So now what's the best next thing to now do with that? It may just be something as simple as we're not having enough withheld through our paychecks, or depending how this income is coming about, do we now need to set up a system to make estimated tax payments to make sure we're not paying, additional penalties and interest when it comes to filing our taxes? Just those little kind of moving pieces that in the grand scheme are important, but can often get overlooked when you're just thinking, and I'm thinking even just personally, right? Money's coming in, money's going out. I'm trying to apply it to all of these buckets. The taxes are a huge component, but I think I'll say for the normal average person who doesn't live, eat, sleep, breathe planning,
Like you do.
yeah, that's not always like the first thing that comes to mind, but it is an important factor because that could have that domino effect of what can you really of that net amount, some of it is going to need to go to taxes.
Yeah, and it may be worthwhile to increase your deferrals into a retirement plan or, figure out another method if it is truly to try to reduce the tax liability that's being caused by this influx. You know, there
Yeah.
those are conversations that are really important to have at the beginning of the year when you know this increase is being had, as opposed to, hey, I got close to the end of the year here. Now I'm looking at my pay stub and it's showing me what I've earned all year. And oh my gosh,
Yeah.
how am I going to
Yeah.
reduce my tax liability? Well, you lost all that time. It may not be as easy. So, yeah, really important to have a conversation on this as soon as you know that increase is happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Ultimately, this still has to be that exercise of, like many other podcasts that we have around this, there has to be a hierarchy of your priorities, and then we can go through with you the hierarchy of where money should be going based on those priorities.
Yeah. And ultimately, if someone is facing, I don't want to say this decision, but hopefully someone is facing this situation where it feels like you're coming from a source of excess.
Yeah, this is a good problem to have.
Yeah. And maybe going back to something that we kind of touched on earlier, as your approach may change, right? As your situation in life may change, again, those priorities may shift up and down that scale too. That's where, to your point, just having the conversation, we would certainly encourage to have that conversation with a planner to help give all of the context and talk through all of your options. But what we would hope for someone to avoid is putting savings or funds in a spot that they would regret right down the line, or maybe even more in the near term. Flexibility is key in our minds when it comes to financial planning.
Yeah.
Flexibility is a wonderful thing. Sometimes its value is not quantifiable, right? You can quantify the impact of, I'm going to put this amount of money in my 401k. I know what my tax rate is. I'm quote unquote saving these taxes. But when it comes to maybe putting money that's not necessarily dedicated to a specific goal, it's not dedicated to retirement, and you're just saving it in the bank or you're putting it in a non retirement investment account, that flexibility is huge because let's say you flash forward 2 or 3 years, you get another bonus or you get another promotion. You're kind of going back to that same process, that same thought process again of let's reevaluate.
Yeah.
And it would be a terrible feeling to now get to that point in the future to say, well, I wish I would have done something different 2 years ago, knowing what I know now. It's where flexibility, depending where you're saving, can have a huge upside benefit of just giving yourself options to make other decisions in the future.
Yeah, I know how I am. You kind of want to feel like you're maximizing your potential everywhere. But I
Hmm.
promise you, certainly as planners on our end, we know the positive that comes from just feeling comfortable with your decisions, right? The positive
Yeah.
space that comes from, think about the meeting that we just had this morning, right? There's a plan. We know we're going to follow it, but that meeting's, still hope so valuable. Not that we changed course on a lot of things, but the conversation was, is this still how we want to handle it?
Yeah.
Is this still what we feel is best? And just to confirm that sometimes is the value of partnership and now the confidence that the two of them can have for the next couple months, maybe even through to the end of the year, saying, all right, as these things occur, I've confirmed what feels best for me.
To maybe put a bow on that, hopefully it's not a win or lose situation, right? When you're making these decisions on kind of where to apply this money, hopefully something as simple as I'm going to win by avoiding a loss,
Right. Yeah.
right? By avoiding painting yourself into a corner at some point in the future can be looked at as a win. You don't have to get every single bet right on, I'm going to save here because this is where I believe taxes are going in the future. Sometimes it's okay to win by not losing.
Yeah. So wrapping that all up, I think it's such a life sometimes throws you curveballs. And I think we are often found when somebody's got a fire to put out. There's the
Mhm.
other side of that, right? That you got a fastball and you are ready to smack this thing out of the ballpark. Yes, we're quickly moving from football to baseball. I like that.
Yeah.
Spring is
Oh,
here.
yeah. Yeah.
When you have these good things going on, similarly, if you don't have a plan or you don't have a planner, like seek somebody out. This is a great opportunity to make sure you feel confident in the decisions that you're making, that you're avoiding the things, right? The blind spots, like you just said, that you may not be aware of. And I
Yeah.
promise, at least on our end, we're not going to judge you if you want to take some of that money and kind of serve present self, right? All work,
Hmm.
no play makes Jack a dull boy. Get it?
Yeah.
But let's just still have the conversation on how we make sure that we are doing our best to have open conversations about how you're going to serve future you too. Because money's just a tool to live life you want to live, but you gotta have future you thank you as well.
Yeah. So I'll say one last thing to maybe drive that point home. The amount of times that we have said after certain meetings with new people that are kind of right on that cusp of retirement, we often say, if we had only met them 3 years earlier, 5 years earlier, right? To be able to have the discussions, come up with that plan so that you can make those tweaks, make those tiny adjustments
Yeah.
along the way. So to drive home your point of if you're in this stage, get a plan, or even in these positive situations, so that again, you flash forward to retirement, you're not having those, well, I wish I would have done this differently. Just
There you
give
go.
yourself the time and the space to figure it out in advance.
Awesome. Appreciate you. Thank you for all your
Yeah,
guidance in this space.
you got it. Thank you.
Later.
Bye.
Hey everyone, Adam and I really appreciate you tuning in. Please note that the opinions we voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be most appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, your accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to making any decisions or investing. Thanks for listening.